everybody. I'm Elisa Vitti, the founder of Flow Living, and we're here celebrating the 10-year anniversary of Flow Living, helping women recover from hormonal issues naturally. To celebrate, I've been having these incredible series of conversations with some of my favorite female founders, athletes, activists, and women who have been on a hormonal health journey of their own, because, let's face it, we all have our hormonal issues and we're here to talk about it. We're here for all of it. We want to unpack why you need to know about your hormones, why you need to stop accepting suffering around these symptoms, and to educate you on why it's so important to take action. Today, joining me is my friend Courtney Swan, who is an integrative nutritionist and real foodist who is on a mission to change the way America eats. She does this on her social media platform where she posts daily about the real food and organic movement on her Instagram account called Real Foodology, and on the Real Foodology podcast, where she aims to educate everyone on the dirty practices of the food industry and how to eat healthy with real food. Welcome, Courtney.
Thank you so much for having me, Alyssa. Also, congratulations on 10 years. That's incredible.
Thank you. We are just on a mission. I can't stop, won't stop. There's 3 billion women in the United States suffering with hormonal issues. And Flow Living is just on a mission to, over the next couple of years, reach 100 million women to help them get rid of any symptoms that they're having, right? Because we shouldn't be suffering with these things anymore. And I just love that every woman who I've asked to be part of this series has been so willing and excited to share about her own personal story of, dealing with stuff with her hormones and figuring out how to stop having that be a problem, because it's not common, though it will be in the future, for us to even have the thought that I shouldn't have this symptom, right? It's more common for us to just accept, periods, pain, miserable, kind of stuck with it for life. That's what we believe. But hopefully these chats will help women understand that though that may be common that we have these problems, we don't have to accept that anymore as our destiny. So I'm so excited to have you here and for you to share your story. So let's get into it. Tell me the tea. What's been your experience of dealing with hormones, symptoms, issues? Like, how have your hormones impacted your life?
Yeah, so I tell this story as I actually got really lucky because unlike most of my friends in high school, I was actually not put on birth control because I wasn't dealing with any sort of acne or anything like that. And so I didn't need
You
it.
escaped.
Yes, I'm honestly so thankful for it now, just knowing all the symptoms and everything and what women have gone through being on it. So I went into this with a different experience where I went on birth control when I was 23, when I first started dating a new guy, and I had the NuvaRing. And I remember not even a month in, I felt like I was a stranger in my own body. I didn't recognize who I was. I didn't recognize like who I was being. And my boyfriend at the time actually very lovingly was like, I want to take this out because I don't recognize who you are.
Wow.
And I remember, so that was the biggest thing where I felt like completely out of control in my body. My boyfriend's like, I don't know who you are. You're a stranger to me. And I felt like I was having just very like erratic, like anger and like mood swings and all this stuff I'd never experienced before. So I took that out. And then shortly afterwards, I dealt with hormonal cystic acne for 4 years.
From 1 month of exposure to synthetic hormones.
Yeah, I think my doctor thinks it was a combination. She thinks that it was, I was super thrown out of whack with the NuvaRing. And then on top of that, I happened to go vegetarian around the same time. And I'm not saying this is every woman's experience, but for me, for some reason, it created this whole hormonal chaos imbalance in my body. And for years, I was trying to figure out what was going on. It was so bad. It was this cystic acne where one would go away and then literally the next day, another one would come. It was just non-stop.
I've been there. It was all over my face, chest, and back, and it's painful. It's painful. Really- it's hard to cover up because it's an inflammatory thing. So it's not like a little pimple that you can kind of hide. It's like your face becomes a little bit, disfigured from all the welts. It's not a pleasant experience.
It's not at all.
Yeah.
Well, and so then maybe 3 years in or so, my mom was like, why don't we go get your hormones checked out? So my doctor, a different doctor, ended up putting me on another hormonal birth control. I don't remember which one it was. I had the exact same experience where a month in, I was like, I don't know who this person is. I could not, like, I don't know how else to explain it other than I felt like my skin was crawling. Like I didn't recognize who I was as a person. I felt like it completely changed my personality. I was having these crazy mood swings that I didn't recognize. I was having all these like food cravings all over the place that I'd never had. Like I just felt like it was a very out of body experience. And so I went off of it.
I just want to underscore something here because what you're describing sounds, let's say, maybe extreme, because women might be listening and say, oh gee, well, I've been on the pill for a while and I don't feel like I'm crawling out of my skin. However, it is a fact that your brain is bathed all day long in your sex hormones, right? Estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, like your personality is absolutely influenced. And we now can measure this. For example, we know it during ovulation, when there's this peak surge of estrogen taking place at this time, it hyperstimulates the verbal and social centers of your brain, making you have a more social disposition, right? So your hormones absolutely affect your personality. Even if you're not having the same reaction, let's say, that Courtney is describing, taking synthetic hormones is affecting your personality because it's shutting down all of your own hormonal output. You don't make any of your own hormones, and then you're taking a low dose. So it's of course going to affect how you feel, how you think, how you interact. And in a way, it was a gift that your reaction was so extreme, because you may have lingered for a lot longer on it without realizing how profound of that impact that it was.
Absolutely. I mean, I've had girlfriends share with me who I had one specifically that I'm thinking of who told me that she was on the pill for 10 years and she didn't realize it until she came off of it, but she felt that there was this like fog of like depression and gloom that lifted when she went off of it. And I know a lot of women have that experience.
Well, yeah, I mean, the rates of depression induced by being on synthetic birth control is so severe or so common that it's often prescribed alongside SSRIs to deal with that depression. So yeah, that's why it's so important to talk about it, right? Because then we recognize, oh, it's not unique to me. This is a common issue, and maybe there's something else I should be considering here. So what let's take us back into your timeline. Now we just hopped out to have this whole fun meta conversation, but like, there you were, you went back on a new medication to try to deal with your skin. You weren't feeling good. What did you do next?
So at that point, I was like, you know what? I'd rather deal with the acne than deal with this. Like, I don't feel safe in my body, for lack of a better word. So I went off the birth control again. And then what we did was we started doing hormone panels. I did a saliva test, and then I also did a blood test to see exactly where my hormones were. We found that my progesterone was very, very low. So she put me on a low dose bioidentical progesterone, then a cream that I was putting on my arm every night. And then from there, it was a combination of getting my progesterone levels back to normal, working a little bit on like my cortisol was off. And then on top of that was, for me personally, again, this is my story, was reincorporating really high quality grass-fed meats in my diet. And then after that, oh, and actually there was one more thing that really helped me too. She put me on glutathione and calcium D-glucarate just to push out excess estrogens through the liver and to support my liver and the detoxification pathways. And I believe that the combination of all of that was what eventually, finally, after 4 years, the acne went away and my emotions went back to normal. I felt normal in my body again, and I really found balance.
And of course, your cycle came back and has been, because with low progesterone, often times when women go off their pill, they can find that they don't get that cycle back for a while. Yeah. And when there's micronutrient depletion, which can take place from exposure to these medications, you can be left with a little progesterone insufficiency, which will impact, the length of your cycle as a whole, and make it difficult for you to have a regular cycle. So it's so important to kind of replenish and heal the body. I love your story of just connecting those dots. I would love to see every woman connect dots like that and start to take action around, not settling for those symptoms. And also, I think it points to the fact that the body is designed to restore its own hormonal balance, right? And that it's not a symptom down approach. You went to the root causes. you looked at your hormones, you took supplements, you changed your diet, you did all the things to support the endocrine system as a whole, as opposed to more topicals, more, lotions and potions to deal with things. It was really like, how do I get my body to function the way that it's designed to, that so that my skin can be the healthy organ that it's supposed to be, right? Let's not forget it's the largest organ on that we have. And then, also that my cycle can perform the way that it's supposed to as well. That's just so beautiful. And I think your story of finding treatment is really lovely, because oftentimes women feel like they don't get answers and it takes a long time. I mean, yes, yours took 4 years, but the average is 7.
Wow.
So the fact that it only took you 4 years is I'm an eternal optimist. I'm like, that's pretty good. That's better than 7. That's better than 10. That's better than getting to a place where you've tried just everything and still nothing is working. So I'm really thrilled that that's taken place for you. How did you feel when you first heard about cycle syncing? I know we've known each other for a while, and you've been exposed to that concept that I created. How did you feel when you first heard about it? How has that impacted your ongoing hormonal self-care journey since you've cleared up your skin?
So first of all, I was one that I felt so incredibly empowered. I was so excited because, after sharing what happened to me when I was on hormonal birth control, I went through a phase where I was like, what do I do? Because I can't do hormones, And so I didn't know what to do about birth control. And I just, for a while, just kind of floated along, used condoms, and was like, ooh, okay, like, I hope this is okay. So when I figured out that we could cycle sync and that there was more that we could actually do, I was so empowered, because I'm also the type of personality that I really want to know the inner workings of my body and how everything works. And so I was really excited, but then I also felt frustration, and I felt a little bit of anger that we were not taught this at a younger age, And so that was part of the reason why I've been so passionate about sharing this as a woman, because I want women to be learning. I want girls to be learning this in school when they're younger. I want their moms to be teaching them about this before they even start their period, so they know what to expect and what to look for, because it's incredibly empowering. And when we're in sync with our bodies and we know exactly what's going on, we can better move through the world. We can show up in different ways. And also, this is what I love so much about your program. When I finally started understanding different phases, so I found out about cycle syncing through a friend. And then when I discovered your book, then I found out about all the different phases. And it really helped me to understand why there's certain periods during the month where I have no energy, and my brain doesn't feel like it's fully working. It kind of feels like not all cylinders are firing, And before, I'd always be like, what is wrong with me? And now I'm like, okay, I know where I'm at in my cycle. It's totally fine. It gives me like kindness and compassion to just know that I'm at where I'm at right now. It's because my body is working in overtime. And then I know, like, once I'm in my ovulation phase, I'm going to be like on fire, and I'm going to be able to do my workouts better and have more energy. And I just find it incredibly empowering.
I think that emotional sort of experience of being exposed to it for the first time, of being excited, but then also a little like angry about the missed opportunity, is a common one that I hear, and so much so that I wrote about it in the last chapter of In the Flow, because when I was teaching this to women in live, workshops back before I wrote the book, I would often, encounter this as like in a group setting where everybody be so excited and like delighted by this whole, like the phases and how it all works. And then we would settle into this moment of a little sadness and a little anger of like, why you recognize at a certain point just how differently things could maybe have gone had you been educated with this information sooner. And I think it is so incredibly special that you're using your platform at Real Foodology to share this information, because, not everybody's talking about it, even though in our world we take for granted that, a lot of women are tuned into their hormones or their cycles. This is still a really new concept. And I think it's really amazing that you're sharing the information with the women in your community, because it's really through all of us crowdsourcing this conversation that we're going to create the cultural shift in the narrative to say, hey, your cycle is valuable. Even though in the medical context, even as recently as 2016, the medical community of obstetrics and gynecologists have decreed that your cycle is now to be considered your 5th vital sign, it hasn't quite made it into the mainstream narrative. We don't take our cycles seriously, right? I mean, think about it. up until recently, there's still kind of, it still has been normal culturally to make it the butt of jokes, like, you're on Shark Week, or, like whatever it is, like PMSing, and we joke about it like that's normal. But when you start to really understand the science, it's like you can't unsee, you can't unring the bell. You're like, oh, wait, actually, the biocycle studies showed that if I don't treat my PMS in my reproductive years, it puts me at greater risk for the big four diseases of inflammation postmenopausally. That's not funny. I don't think I should be joking about that with myself or my friends, and the shift is happening, but it really is going to take all of us kind of continuously talking and normalizing the fact that, symptoms happen. Hormones are a part of our everyday life. We just need to understand how they work and work with them, and remember to take that daily action around your self-care, right? So for you, you already did the heavy lifting of clearing up your skin, and now you're maintaining with your cycle syncing practice, right? And that's what it should look like for a lot of women, right? To deal with whatever's off and then kind of stay in the flow of your hormones, so to speak. And it doesn't take a lot of time, right? Like, how do you find your practice? Do you feel overwhelmed? Does it feel like it's your every focus point, or do you feel like you're in a state of fluency with kind of where you're at and what to do to care for yourself in each phase?
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing this for so long that I feel like I'm just in a routine with it now. And I, for the most part, I'm so in tune with my body now that before even checking my app, most of the time, I kind of have an idea of where I'm at just because of how I feel.
Yeah. I think, and that's why we built the MyFlow app, to just make it easy as you get started, so that you don't have to kind of become a subject matter expert or kind of guess where you're at in your cycle. But yeah, I love that you get to that place where you're like, because you're in your body, and you do feel very distinctly different in each phase, and getting to know that version of yourself as you practice the method is, I think, really fun. All right. So to wrap up, what do you want or wish for every woman to know who's dealing with a hormonal issue? What would you wish for them to know? What do you want them to know?
I think it's when you're really in it, it's really hard. And it's easy to lose sight of the end goal. And I think we're really, really hard on ourselves. And I think it feels like sometimes I'm never going to get the answers. I'm never going to get to the end of this. Like, there's not a light at the end of the tunnel. But I'm here to tell you, and I feel like every woman that you have talked to probably has a similar story of just know and trust that you are going to figure this out. And also, there is something really amazing and beautiful about the journey too, because even though when I was really suffering, like, I can't tell you, mentally and physically, I was really, really suffering during that time of the hormonal acne, but I learned so much about my body. I learned so much about what diet works for me, what things worked for me, how to get healthier. And so, like, in the moment, yeah, it was really hard. But again, like, we go through hard things in order to better ourselves and better our lives and strengthen ourselves in different ways. And so I'm really grateful for that journey because I learned so much. And yeah, I think like you will find the answers. It's all about learning how to tune into your body, finding the right resources, finding the right doctors, finding the right people in your corner to help you out. And I'm just here to say that you will definitely figure it out. It just sometimes takes a little bit of time, but don't give up hope, because you will. And you're going to feel so much better.
I love that. I mean, the idea is you can get better. You can personally impact your hormonal situation, right? It's not a permanent situation. You can change what you're eating, what supplements you're taking, what your lifestyle is, and all of that really supports how your endocrine system performs. And that's going to really directly impact your symptoms. So I just love that message of hope and encouragement, because until you see it for the first time in yourself, it's almost hard to believe that you could get rid of your acne without a topical medication, or that you could get rid of cramps that you've been plagued with for years, or that you could restore your cycle after it's been irregular for so long, or that you could get pregnant naturally, or that you could not have hot flashes in perimenopause. But all these things are totally possible, but that's just what the body was designed to do. So it's only that we've somehow interrupted that process with improper inputs that we end up with symptoms. And I love your perspective on it being a gift, albeit in a hard lesson of a package, but it's a gift to learn how your body works whenever and however you learn, because that you just can't unknow it, and you'll always be in a different relationship, and hopefully one that's loving and compassionate and takes you, gives you a relationship with your body that your body and you are now doing things that you want to be doing. I mean, the whole point is to feel good so you can go out and live your life and do what you want to do, right? Not so that you can have the goal is not to have perfect hormones. The goal is to take care of your body so that you can go crush it in your life. And I think that's a really great message. So thank you so much, Courtney, for sharing your story. It's so important that we talk about these things, that we're not afraid to just start sharing, like, yeah, I had this happen to me, and to understand that there is transformation possible for you if you so want it. And I really love how your brand, your podcast, your social media platform is contributing to changing the narrative. So thank you for doing that. It is, we need all hands on deck talking about what this should be like for women. And here we're celebrating our 10 years at Flow Living. We're here to innovate and trailblaze a path forward for what hormonal healthcare should look like. And we're really excited about this new offering. The app is now free to download. And what's so exciting is that you'll be able to go in and plug in any and all of the symptoms that you're having. And we're going to really educate you on what could be going on that's so personalized to you, and help you come up with a care plan that's really unique to what it is that you need. So thank you so much for being part of this celebration with us. And I'm really excited for the next chapter of things over here at Flow Living.
Thank you so much for having me. I really loved this.